Hey guys, Coach Alex Gonzalez from Maximize Potential coming at y'all with a great Wellness Wednesday. Today we're talking about a couple of different ways that you can improve your balance. But before we get into that, if you haven't noticed, new fall gear is finally in. It's never been easier to stay warm and stay stylish while still getting your gains. We've got sweaters, we've got sweatpants, we've got beanies, and we've got a good assortment of hoodies. From right now until Thanksgiving, we've got 20% off on a lot of these items. So go ahead and grab some while the deals are still on. I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link down in the comments below. Today I'm talking exactly how to fix your balance issues. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. We all know that balance is important. Balancing work life and social life, balancing your meals with those perfect macro ratios, or even maintaining a budget for the month. But of all of the things that we seem to find important to balance, we tend to neglect the most important one, our own physical balance. Now, balance is not directly related to our muscular health, but it is directly related to our overall physical well-being. Balance is one element that we should absolutely incorporate in a well-rounded physical program. Improving our balance helps us avoid injury and increases our overall coordination. With overall increased coordination, this allows for quicker and more efficient neuromuscular pathways to be created during exercise, which in turn allows us to be more efficient in our movements during those exercises. Now, if we're strictly talking about exercise, no amount of extra weight, speed, or length of time in an exercise is going to provide gains as efficiently as doing them with proper mechanics and control. Now, most of the time when we talk about working on balance or having balance issues, much of the time it doesn't really have to do with our actual balance more than it has to do with us not necessarily knowing how to properly distribute our weight, especially during movement. Now, I worked in an ER for about 2 years while I was in college, and one of the things that I saw very frequently were elderly patients who would come in because of a fall. As I just mentioned, this is usually due to an inability to distribute weight properly during movement. This can be indicative of weaknesses in certain stability muscles, specifically around the knees and the ankles. One of the more common ones that I would see is going to be a weakness in that tibialis anterior. Now, the tibialis anterior runs just outside of that shin bone, and it's what's responsible for helping keep that foot up or dorsiflex. Now, when that muscle is weak, we tend to drop that toe, and when we drop the toe, anytime we take a step, sometimes that toe will drag or get caught on the ground, and that's when we trip and fall. So needless to say, learning how to distribute our weight properly is going to be very important, not only in our early years, but also as we age. So I'm going to go over a couple of different exercises that we can do to help improve our balance. And when we talk about improving balance, of course, the most important thing to do is to practice balance. There was a larger study done a couple of years ago where they had gathered about 400 different basketball players, both professional and college age. They split them up randomly. Half of them went on and did their normal training, while the other half not only did their normal training, but did 3 sets of 30-second single leg balances twice a day. They followed up with them about a year later and found that the group that did the single leg balance had decreased their chances of ankle sprains by over 70%. So needless to say, this is going to be a rather efficient exercise. So taking straight from the article, we're going to go ahead and start with that single leg balance. Anytime we do any type of balancing exercise, it is important that we go ahead and take our shoes off. Getting that good tactile feedback in the feet is going to make sure that we have nice even distribution of weight across the entire foot. Now, the single leg balance is a little self-explanatory. We're going to go ahead and stand on one foot. Now, one of the things I want us to focus on is the tripod in the foot. As long as we keep our weight distributed across the entirety of the foot, we should be good. So when I say tripod in the foot, we want to have good contact in the ground with the big toe, the little toe, and the heel. Again, we're going to do 3 sets of 30 seconds on each side here. If we're struggling to do the full 30 seconds, it's okay to stand next to a wall, so this way we have a little bit of extra assistance to our sides, or we can decrease the time to 15 seconds. If we're finding that this is a little bit easy, we can go ahead and get a Hemingway pad, or if you're at home, you can get a pillow and stand on that and introduce a little bit of instability. Like I mentioned, we're going to do this 3 sets for 30 seconds. The next exercise is going to introduce a little bit of movement into our balance. This is going to be an RDL Reach. Place something on the ground in front of you, like a cone, a pylon, or if we're at home, like a tall cup. Again, spread out the toes and grab the ground. Make sure that we have a good tripod in the entirety of the foot. We're going to introduce a little bit of a bend in the knee as to not put too much direct pressure into that joint. Now, as we're standing on one foot, we're going to go ahead and start hinging. We don't want to hinge at the waist, we want to hinge at the hips. So, an easy way to kind of remember that and to get the weight distribution correct anywhere the head goes, the heel goes. So that heel does not start moving until that head starts moving, and vice versa. So we're hinging at the hips, keeping the weight distribution nice and even as we come down, and you're gonna go ahead and reach forward with that opposite hand and touch that cone out in front of you. You should feel a good pull in the hamstrings and maybe even the glutes. You're gonna repeat this movement for 3 sets of 8 reps on each side. If you're having a little bit of issues going down full depth, that's okay. You can raise it up by putting it up on a chair or using a tabletop. Remember, you can always modify these exercises for your own needs. That being said, if we find that this is a little bit easy, we can introduce a weight. The next exercise that we're going to be doing is going to be a 3-way stabilization. Now, with the 3-way stabilization, we're going to go ahead and have a couple of different cones placed in front of us. One's directly in front, one out at about a 45-degree angle, and one directly to our side. Now we're going to stand on one foot. Again, introduce a little bit of a bend into the knee that we're standing on. Now we're going to reach forward with the one foot, touch the cone or pylon that we have in front of us. Return it back to center. If we need to touch the ground to kind of restabilize, it's okay. Then we're reaching out to that one over at the 45. Come back and touch. Go out to the one over by the side. Come back and touch. Now what we're doing is we're strengthening the muscles around the entirety of the hip. These are very important stabilization muscles, so making sure that we take care of them is going to be very important. Each time that we hit all 3 cones, that's going to be considered 1 pass. Now we want to go ahead and do 5 passes on each side for about 3 sets. If you're finding this to be a little bit difficult, no worries. You can actually just shorten the distance of the cones or just practice 1 cone at a time. So do a couple of sets just coming forward or do a couple of sets just coming sideways. If we're finding this to be a little bit easy, then we can introduce a band. Now we're going to put a light band just around the ankles, and this way, when we come forward, we have a little bit of resistance and a little extra tug to help with that balance. But anyway, y'all, that's about all I got for us today. Make sure you try out some of these at home and let me know how we feel with them. Don't forget, new fall gear is here. We've got 20% off on a lot of these items, so go ahead and grab some while those deals are still on. But remember, y'all, this is always a conversation, so don't forget to like, comment down below with anything that you learned, any questions that you may have, or any suggestions for future content that you want to see. But other than that, I'm Coach Alex. Y'all be good, drink some water, and see y'all in the next one.